Okay, Assalamu alaikum. So the topic of our discussion is Persuasion by Jane Austen. Characters list. कल स्टार्ट की थी character list. मैंने बोला था कि ये 2 पार्ट्स में होगी, तो आज दूसरा पार्ट स्टार्ट करते हैं इसका। कल हमने तकरीबन 8 करैक्टर जो हैं वो किए थे। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट टुडेज़ वीडियो। लुइसा मुस्ग्रोव तक किया था, आज स्टार्ट करना है हेनरीटा मुस्ग्रोव, यंगर सिस्टर ऑफ चार्ल्स and older sister of Louisa. Henrietta is also young and fun-loving, though she is not as decisive as Louisa. Henrietta sees the charms both of her cousin Charlie's hater and of the dashing Captain Wentworth. Mr. and Mrs. Musgrove, the parents of Charles, Henrietta and Louisa the Musgroves, have provided a balanced, happy home for their children at Uppercross. They are a landed family, second in rank in the parish only to the Elliot. They are practical and want only happiness for their children. Charles Hatter, cousin to the Musgroves. His mother is the sister of Mrs. Musgrove. The Hester family is nevertheless enmeshed in a much lower social circle because of their inferior, retired and unpolished way of living. Charles Hester, the youngest son, however, chooses to be a scholar and gentleman, and consequently has much more refined manners. He will one day inherit his family's land, and he hopes to court his cousin Henrietta and make her his wife. Captain Benwick, once engaged to the Captain Harville's now deceased sister Fanny, Captain Benwick is a depressed naval officer who mourns the death of his lost love. He is a shy man and an ardent reader of poetry. When Annie meets him, he is on leave from his ship and he is living with Captain and Mrs. Harville. He seeks a young woman to help him get over Fanny, and his attentions turn surprisingly to Louisa Musgrove. Lady Russell, the former best friend of Annie's deceased mother. Lady Russell is a woman of considerable worth and wealth, and who serves as advisor to the Elliot family. A practical woman, she is conscious of class interactions and finances. Annie is her favorite of the Elliot daughters, and though she means well, she sometimes gives Annie bad advice. Admiral and Mrs. Croft, the amiable couple that rents Killian's Hall when Sir Walter can no longer afford the stay there. The Admiral is a decorated naval officer, and his devoted wife travels with him when he is at sea. The Crofts are one of the few examples of an older, happily married couple in any of Austen's novel. Mrs. Clay, the daughter of Mr. Shepherd, family advisor to Sir Walter. Mrs. Clay soon becomes the friend of Elizabeth Hilliard, though she is of much lower birth, freckled and not so very attractive. Mrs. Clay is a well-mannered widow. Annie, however, sees danger in the way she endures herself to Sir Walter, and suspects she may seek to marry in a class far above her own. Mrs. Smith, the girlhood friend of Annie Elliot, who is currently living in Bath. Mrs. Smith has fallen on hard times after her husband went into debt and left her a widow. Mrs. Smith was left with nothing, now crippled by illness. Mrs. Smith rekindles her former friendship with Annie and provides her with information that help Annie learn more of Elliot. Lady Dalrymple and Miss Cartwright. The Irish cousin of the Elliots, Lady Dalrymple, and her ugly daughter Miss Cartwright, come to Bath. Though they are uninteresting and unclever, Salvatore seeks their renewed acquaintance because of their high social position. Captain Harville and Mrs. Harville. Friends of Captain Wentworth, this couple resides in Lyme and kindly cares for Louisa after her fall. आज हमने परसुएशन की जो है कंप्लीट कर ली है करैक्टर लिस्ट, कल इसकी समरी इंशाल्लाह कंप्लीट करेंगे। अगर लंबी हुई तो 2 पार्ट्स में वो भी होगी, नहीं तो 1 पार्ट में। इसके अलावा ऑस्टन के और भी जितने भी इम्पोर्टेंट नावल हैं वो करेंगे। प्राइड एंड प्रेजुडिस, एम्मा, सेंस एंड सेंसिबिलिटी और परसुएशन, 4 नावल जो हैं वो कवर हो चुके हैं। कल इंशाल्लाह कवर हो जाएंगे। इसके बाद और इम्पोर्टेंट नावल देखेंगे, अगर कोई हुआ तो उसे भी कवर करेंगे। ओके, अल्लाह हाफिज़, स्टे ट्यून्ड।